Hey, good evening. I've been having problems again with my iPad. I'm on my phone. It's Pastor Mary. It's Tuesday. I have to think. I almost said December. I was like, it's not December. September 21st. It is Earth, Wind, and Fire Day. If you remember the song September. Do you remember? 21st day of September. So today is Earth, Wind, and Fire Day. Good evening, Don. How are you? I'm glad to see you're on here tonight. It's also Pastor Nahali's birthday. Pastor Nahali serves with my husband, David, at Epiphany in Conyers, and she's in Africa with her family. She went over to be there to eulogize her father at his funeral, and she's coming back at the end of the week, so she's getting to celebrate her birthday. In fact, I'm not even sure what time it is there. It's probably after midnight there, but she has had her birthday on this day. And it is my dear, one of my best friends, Gayla Sublet's birthday. Happy birthday, Gayla. You are so fortunate to be celebrating your birthday in California. Good evening, Paula. How are you? So, 2 birthdays. I know there's a few others, and I'm sorry, I don't have my church list in front of me, but if it's your birthday happy birthday to you. And I was trying to write down some prayer requests. So I'm glad you're with me. I'm glad you're on here tonight. I hope you've had a good day. We've, here in the South, where we're at in Georgia, started out pretty nice. It was a little cloudy, then it got bright, then it rained again. It's rained here tonight. I drove home in the rain about probably at least half the way home. I drove in the rain. Good evening, Cheryl. Hey, how are you? So I drove home in the rain. So tomorrow, hopefully, will be the last day of rain for a while. Tim, my brother who lives in Kansas City, said that they really have a need for rain. Hey, good evening, Phyllis. And he said, well, we could take it here. And I said, well, we'd love to give it to you, but we've had almost 6 or 7 days straight. Good evening, Paula. We've had almost 6 or 7 days straight of rain here. So we are like flooded out and in need of dry spells. So we'll ask God to send the rain to you all where you need it in the Midwest, and we would like to become dry. Tomorrow will hopefully, like I said, be the last day for a while. We're looking at some hopefully dry days, sunny days. We're wanting those really bad. Christopher's off of school this week, and we're supposed to go out to a place called Noah's Ark. It's about 20-25 minutes from our house. It's in Locust Grove, Georgia, and it is a animal refuge from what I know. And there's a number of animals out there. I've never been out there with him, and I told him we would go this week. Well, he and I were going to go yesterday because I'm off on Monday, but the weather was just too lousy. So I said, well, we'll plan on going Friday. So we're going to do that. And then Friday night, my husband David and Sam and I are all going to see Hamilton. We've had tickets for over a year now, and we will be going to the performance on Friday. So looking forward to that. So I hope you all are doing well, and thank you for joining me this evening. Tonight I'm going to read a little portion from this wonderful book, Hallelujah Anyway, Rediscovering Mercy by Anne Lamott. I love her. I read some from her, probably in the last month I read some, but it's been a few weeks since I've read from her. Excuse me, I'm having a little problem since I have to hold my phone. I need to get a holder for my phone is what I need to do, so then I could use it and not have to be concerned about it. And I think, if I have it correctly, this is the part this was one of the chapters I had not read yet. So I hope you will not have heard it again. Hey, April, good evening. How are you doing? So this chapter, it doesn't have a title, but this is how it starts. Now, if it sounds familiar, just say that, and then I'll switch to the next part, because I was thinking I hadn't read this part to you yet, but I wanted to share this tonight. Because, like life these days, there's a lot of mixture of goodness and sadness and difficult times, and you and I may be doing well, and other people on here or in our lives may be struggling. We may know people we care about who are very ill, some who may be dying, some who are struggling with cancer, some who are dealing with other losses. And I just really enjoy Aunt Lamont. I've read her quite a bit over this last. So that was a signal that I need to plug in my phone, because the video makes the battery go really fast. So I just plugged it in, and now I'm going to see if I can set it up here. Ooh. Okay, come on. Sorry. Let's see if I can set it down a little bit. All right, we'll just do that. Okay. So remember, if you think you've heard this before from me, just give me a signal, and then I'll switch to the other part. So she writes this: being alive here on earth has been a mixed grill at best. Lovely, hard, and confusing. Good and bad things happen to good and bad people. That's not much of a system. A better one would be a silverware drawer for joy, sorrows, doldrums, madness, ease. But no. Eden explores, and we enter a dangerous, terrifying world, the same place where goodness, love, and kind intelligence lifts us up so often. The world has an awful beauty. This is a chaotic place. Humanity is a chaotic place, and I am a chaotic place. Mother Nature is the main problem. Mother Nature runs on the principle that we all just get killed. This is a little depressing that nearly every species has to be afraid in order to live. Of course, it makes sense for a colony of wild rabbits to be afraid when the harrier hawk appears overhead. No surprise that you hear the concerned background music swell from the bushes. But I've seen toothy foxes up close on my hikes, and they bolt. They really don't seem interested in getting to know me. They're lost. They're afraid of an older woman with sore feet and hands because life is scary. How, if we are to believe, hey, good evening, Betty, there is meaning in our brief time here on earth, that mercy is the ground of our being and love is sovereign, do we explain childhood cancer, earthquakes, addiction, and I would add COVID? Where is mercy in a beloved suicide? In the Christian tradition, we say that Christ continues to be crucified in tsunamis, sick children, political prisoners, and that we must respond. This is what I believe, so I show up and get water for people, real people, which is to say, annoying people. Mother Teresa, cradling strangers at dawn, is very romantic. But in life, there's also your thirsty, bigoted father, your lying sister, the whole human race, living and dying and rising with Christ. Boy, do I love that. You know, you think, oh yeah, there's a lot of great people, and then you meet people that are just totally annoying, and you think, all right, how am I going to deal with this? Now, that's me saying that. That isn't the book. In the rabbinical tradition, there is great insight in the notion that when we see suffering, remember that this is only the 6th day. We're not done here. The good news is that God isn't either. God is searching with us for a cure for cancer. God rejoiced at the cure for smallpox. And I will say, too, since this book was written before COVID, God is also in the search for a cure for COVID, and I believe in the work done to create the vaccines. And the Dalai Lama said, old friends pass away, new friends appear. It is just like the days. I don't love hearing this, but yes, one of these days I'm going to die. However, not on any of all the other days. Today we put the artist's smock and plug back in. This co-creation goes slowly. Time takes time. It's about evolution, increased equal rights side by sides with mothers still hauling in their daughters to the traditional surgeon for something that is done terribly to women in Africa. The great French Jesuit soul Teilhard de Chardin believed we're on the crest of a wave. evolving toward what I would dare to call, this one time, Christ consciousness. But chaos is real and hard, and a lot of people would be relieved to live in the silverware drawer of North Korea if there was more food. One of the few consolations is that it is not just you and yours who get upset and scared and deeply defeated. Not just your own rabbi or lama who loses faith occasionally and sinks into despair. It is everyone. Even Jesus' best friends lost hope, even with him right there beside them way before the crucifixion. When Jesus comforts Mary and Martha after the death of their brother Lazarus, we read the shortest and most amazing line of the Bible. Jesus wept. But in some translations it says Jesus is angry. And the reason for this makes our author angry. He's sad because Lazarus dies, but he's also frustrated because Mary and Martha aren't getting the message. They don't fully believe in the kingdom right then. Right then after their brother has died. Martha is despondent that Jesus didn't rush to Bethany to save him, since he could have done so. And Mary worries that her brother's body will smell after 4 days dead in the tomb. Well, yeah, you can hardly blame her. They are the ultimate believers, and yet everything feels awful. And how does Jesus react? He gets upset. The women remind me of my pastor's sermon on dual citizenship. She described the information in one of our spiritual passports, that we're beautiful children, created by and made of holiness, spirit, and love. In the other passport, regrettably, we have bodies, biographies, minds, and personalities. Mary and Martha have come so far in their faith, in trust, and surrender, but it's not enough for Jesus. He admonishes them, and this bugs me. He wants them to come all the way into faith. He's saying, okay, so the you-know-what has hit the fan. Do you still believe that I am the resurrection and the life? Even when you don't get what you want? Even when nothing makes sense? I'm sorry, but I'm with the sisters here and all inconsolable believers. Jesus wants to know why they can't believe that their brother is still in his perfect care, safe and whole and even smelling good no matter what things look like. If Jesus were sitting here with me in a good mood, I would say to him, don't get me started. Jesus deliberately let their brother die that the prophecies might be fulfilled. Putting aside that this is a morally ambiguous decision, whatever happened to the shepherd's desolation at one missing sheep? They responded in authentic human ways with weeping, anger, shock, and doubt. There is so much for Jesus to be upset about, but this, I believe God loves the real. God is the real, who loves us at our most genuine, unburnished, unarmored. But Jesus groans, oy vey. The sisters in their shock say, we're suffering, scared, and hate everything, and we're not sure what is true anymore. And Jesus doesn't hear their humanity. He corrects them. Keep the faith. He says, I really am the God of the quick and the dead. Then, like a slightly depressive cheerleader, he tells them, go big. Now, I believe in a kingdom of heaven within and that the soul never dies. But you take away my brothers, my son, my grandson, and we have a problem on our hands. When you think God's embrace of me in despair is galactic? And these women, with a lifelong lack of stature and messy female bodies, have been derided enough. When the rock at the entrance to Lazarus' tomb is rolled back, and Jesus calls for Lazarus to come out, Lazarus does. He walks out wrapped in grave clothes and not looking, feeling, or probably smelling his very best. It is still a miracle, maybe in need of a shower. And when he dies again, the sisters still got their miracle, so it all works out. Orson Welles said, if you want a happy ending, that depends, of course, on where you stop your story. The crucifixion looked like a big win for the Romans. At the end of the Lazarus story, the four are together again. Jesus and the family, and I could see here that mercy means that no one bolted. Mercy means I don't run away from this and go shopping just because you and your smelly family disappoint me. I stay. I am committed to this supernatural love, but Jesus being upset, I ask you. Of course. He wins me back right away. My Sunday school loves the story of Jesus returning after the resurrection to the beach where the desolate disciples are grieving his death. As Frederick Buechner wrote, the darkness is broken by the flicker of a charcoal fire on the sand. Jesus has made it. He cooked some fish on it for his old friend's breakfast. On the horizon, there are the first pale traces of the sun getting ready to rise. He cooked them breakfast. It's so cool. My kids and I toast him with juice boxes. I've lived through times when a connected group of humans in grief and shock stayed together as things unscrolled. When a person was dying too young or after, what could we do? We showed up. When our best friend's teenager disappeared, when their fathers lost their minds or their babies or mates were in the ICU, we lay beside them in the bed and held them in our arms. We brought the bereaved a sandwich. We let them vent. Maybe watched a little TV together. We offered our presence, our warm bodies, and the willingness to feel as bad as they do with them. One even bigger gift, no snappy answers. We could nod, sigh, cry with them, maybe go to a park. Against all odds, these things work, however imperfectly, when a closed system breaks open and turmoil ensues. This collective, imperfect, hesitant help is another kind of miracle. Naturally, one wants to avoid these kinds of miracles. We prefer routine, predictability, to never be ashamed or afraid, let alone aghast. But comfort zones leak. A niece dies, or there's an earthquake. A lesion appears, affairs happen. If anyone is so good that he or she should be spared, you can safely assume that person is in the line of fire. Fair is where the pony rides are. In lonely closed systems, timers are set. Tick, tick, tick. The belief in original sin made sense of the chaos and pain by saying that we had caused it through sin. But this does not have the ring of truth for some of us, especially with sick or starving children. What has the ring of truth is this: it sucks. You could say that certain tragic events are unfair and humiliating, but really, they are just true. Randomness and brutality are just what is, but so is mercy. The power of mercy came clear to me recently when the son of one of my closest friends, Ann, took his own life. He shot himself at a beach near the house where he had been staying with his aged mother for nearly a year. Everyone had seen suicide looming for a long time, and yet it was still the end of the world. Ann, at 92, had lost her younger son. It's stunning how a great trauma can also be so ordinary. Some of the dearest and most brilliant people we've known were not able to bear life on this planet, and we were unable to save them. Where in the aftermath of suicide does one even begin to believe in mercy again? There were 4 people whose presence brought Ann comfort in the first few days, and we were there at all times in the first week. What I saw was the extremely disorganized nature of life, the reality of suicide, charity, sacrifice. We mourned Jay's death, felt joy in his deep goodness, relief at his escape, and we felt Ann's shaky peace. She was thankful that she had been able to spend so much time with her son in the last 10 months, not to mention 50 years. She said that she could feel his presence off and on, and experience peace that he had left her and his big brother and his kids notes of assurance and love. She experienced relief and gratitude that he had not shot himself at their home, and she missed him as only a mother can. People kept saying she would feel him again someday, and she said, "Oh, I feel him now." Lifelong friends told her she really must take a nap, and she said nicely, "I'm not tired." We brought the few foods she could handle: peaches, avocados, cheese, cherries, and people suggested she probably needed more protein. People said that since Jay was in a closed casket awaiting cremation, there was no reason for us to visit the funeral home, but we did. We sat with him for a long time, not knowing at which end of the casket his head was or his feet. So Ann rubbed the cloth at one end while I rubbed the cloth at the other. Then, smiling, we switched places. At the memorial a week later in her yard, Anne looked like an elegant, vulnerable young eagle. She had always been beautiful, white-haired for the 35 years I have known her, tiny but a huge presence in the larger theatrical world, still with a trace of a New Zealand accent. I got there early enough to help her older son set up the yard. Sandy is a few years younger than I am and the handsomest man I have ever known, and he has buried 2 husbands. We sat with his mother while she put on her face, as she put it, but she still looked like a charcoal drawing that had been worked over, part of it erased, part of it in high release. We got ready for the 30 or 40 people we expected, chairs, silverware, wine. The 3 of us were to be speakers. Salvation in these dire situations is to worry about the material world, futzing and putzing, folding napkins, unfolding chairs. Sandy looked even more like Anne that afternoon, charcoal smudges under his eyes and fine chiseled cheekbones, fierce intensity underneath his thrumming fear. People arrived and took a turn with the sacrament of ploppage in a chair beside gentle, regal Anne. Things began with all the guests shuffling in Anne's long, skinny concrete yard. It was a sort of do-si-dos with chairs and people, including Sandy's and Jay's stepmother and exes of exes. We placed the chairs in the shades of the trees under which Jay had found some peace here, fig, magnolia, plum. When Anne had asked him a few months earlier why he had left his home in the East and come back to live with her, he said that he wanted to help her, as she had grown so old, and that he knew he would find some peace and welcome in her backyard. We made a wobbly long oval of irregular chairs, plastic patio chairs, and fancy dining room chairs, so perfectly imperfect on this tough day. I was the officiant, I guess. I said, "This is hard, and we all loved him so, and we'll miss him. We feel him here now in the wholeness once more, hovering, yet we will never get to talk to him on the phone again or at dinner, and this is too awful to bear." I said, "Let's keep the beauty and sorrow in front of us now, in memories, silences, and poetry." I'm going to stop there now, because as good as this is, there's 2 people in my life who are dying, and I've been praying very hard for them, praying for a miracle for both of them, and I'm not sure either one of them is going to get it. And I think I did read that first part before, but I think I needed to hear it again. You know, I work with death, being a hospice chaplain, as I have been, and being a pastor, and I've done a lot of funerals. I've buried people that I didn't know, but I got to know so that I could eulogize them in such a way that when people heard me, they would say, "It's like you knew them," because I believe everybody deserves to have someone at their funeral speak about them in a loving way. And I always ask family and friends to speak, but sometimes they can't because they're too broken up. But the next part of that I hope I'll read on Thursday about what was said about this man at his funeral. You know, life is hard and good at the same time. And we don't often want to talk about death or funerals, and yet it's a part of life. And so this week, I asked for prayers for Kathy. Kathy is the lady who runs I've talked last week about her too. She's the lady that runs the 5 Loaves, I'm sorry, I always keep doing that in my head. She's a lady that runs the Backpack for Kids program in Griffin. I've worked with her these years I've been at St. John, and I've worked every week with her in the last year and a half, as I, if every Thursday that I could go, I would go and help pack the food and then take food to 2 of the schools. And Kathy was always there, and we always talked, and I got to know her family, her mom, her beloved mom who would come to help. And her mom has arthritis, and at one point, I don't want to speak wrong, but I don't remember if her mom had COVID or not, but if she did, she came through it. And last week, Kathy wrote me on Friday, I don't know, maybe it's been over a week, because I think I asked for prayers for her last week. Yeah, so it's been a week and a half. She wrote me and said, I'm going to the hospital. Please do me a favor. And I said, what? She said, pray for a miracle. And she said, they said I have one of the worst cases of COVID pneumonia that they've seen. And so on Saturday, when I hadn't heard anything, I wrote a note because I figured her husband or her daughter would have her phone. And I said, I know, and because I don't have another way of getting a hold of her husband, Ron, or her family. And I said, I don't know if anybody else is answering this, but can you please tell me how Kathy is doing? And they said, she's not doing well. She hasn't responded to treatment, and they have one infusion left to give her. And I said, what for? Because I knew, the pneumonia, but and I would guess it was her husband, but I don't know that because I don't know who answered it. And they said for a blood clot. So, and then I just have another special intention for a very dear person from my childhood and growing up who's suffering. And David was saying to me today, he said, I have 3 funerals in the next week. He's had 11 people die in his church in the last year. A few from COVID, but many more from Parkinson's and dementia and other things. And some of them very unexpected, some from cancer. And then another friend, Stacy, who lives in Colorado, I'm praying for the best for her. She has cancer, and she wrote that the treatment, she's going to lose her hair. She's young. I mean, I don't think she's 50 yet, and that's young. I'm sorry, that's young. And she has 2 boys that are a little bit younger than my boys, but I think at least one, if not both of them, are in high school. And she's a pastor's wife. She's a teacher. She's a social worker. She's an amazing person. And so I asked for prayers for Kathy. Good news today, which I can always use good news in the midst of so much sadness, is I talked to Jennifer Durham because Rebecca had asked for prayers for her aunt's boyfriend, and he is recovering, seems like pretty well from having had COVID. He hasn't had a negative test yet, but Jennifer said that he is really on the mend, and that that somehow, fortunately, neither Rebecca's aunt or grandmother, who they all live together, have gotten COVID. So that's a blessing, and we pray for their protection and safety. And then I also talked to Gary today, Gary Larson, who he and Ann come to St. John, and he's a big part of the centering prayer group we've had. And he had a setback on Sunday. He had a total knee replacement about 20 years ago. Excuse me, I'm having all kinds of weird sounds and stuff with my body. And he had pieces of the knee replacement break off after 20 years. And so he had surgery like 2.5 weeks ago on it in Alabama. And he was fortunate that they didn't have to replace the knee, the whole kneecap, but they got all the pieces out, the parts out. Well, he said he'd been making amazing recovery. He was walking. He only used a walker for a day, and he really didn't need a cane, but they said if he was going out for a long walk, he should use a cane, and he was doing good at physical therapy. But on Sunday, he started running a low-grade fever, and he just got real weak with his knee and stuff, and went to the doctor this past Monday, and the doctor said that he had a lot of blood that had built up around that knee, and it was like having a balloon, like how a balloon, puffs up and holds, and it was going to take time, but the blood would reabsorb and he would get better. But he had a couple tough days, but he's doing better today, and he was going back to physical therapy, and so we just asked for prayers for Gary and his recovery, that he won't have any more setbacks like that. Let's see. Also, our friend Janet called David, and her sister-in-law unexpectedly died in her sleep. She was 56 years old. And, it was Janet. And, things like that, when they happen, when they're so unexpected, they're just so shocking. And, so we asked for prayers for Janet's brother and all their family at the loss of their sister-in-law. And I'm sorry I don't have her name right now, but I will get that. We continue to pray for Pastor Tom Kinney, who also lost his wife he kissed her goodbye and came home 2 hours later and she had died. And let's see, Bill Tidwell is having outpatient surgery this week. We are grateful Lily McVeigh had negative COVID test, and she's doing really well, so we're really thrilled about that. Hey, good evening, Martha. And we want to pray for continued working through Steve and Sandra Harwood's son Brian and his partner Shy. They had a water main break in her house, and the entire house was flooded. This was over a week and a half ago, and they finally have been able to get the insurance company to come in and to check on it, and they're getting a place to rent, to be able to stay, and hopefully be able to get everything fixed up. So also ask for prayers for friend Lisa for some health issues she has, and for dear high school friend Danita Harple, who has been ill as well. So that's it for prayers tonight. Again, as always, if you have prayer requests, please let me know. And sorry that I read that before and I was fine, and then I read it tonight and I think it just hit too close to home with with a lot of losses. I'm going to go to one of the funerals at David's church. Well, I know 2 of the 3 people who died, and one of them is just a private family service, so I won't be going to that one, but they'll have something later. But I'll be going to one for dear Art, who he and his wife, Pat, when we came back in 2014, they were the first couple that we met. I mean, David had been interviewed, but they were, Pat's still in real estate, but Art and Pat were doing real estate, and they helped us find a place to live. And just very wonderful people. And Art had Parkinson's and suffered a lot his last year or 2 of life, but and he died sometime in it's been over a year, but they wanted to wait, and so they'll be having a celebration of Art's life next week, so I'll be going to that. So anyway, I don't know, sometimes you just read something and it just hits you really hard, but it's okay to cry, it's okay to miss people, it's okay to laugh about remembering them, and I always say, carry forward the love they shared with us. And I'm just thinking of different people tonight. And but again, happy birthday to Pastor Nahali. Happy birthday to my dear, dear close friend Gayla. I'm glad you're going to have a glass of wine by the ocean in California, where you are today. She lives in Missouri, in Kirksville, where we went to college, but she was on a business trip, but took her husband. And they are going to toast her birthday tonight. So I'm so glad she's getting to do that. And she's going to my husband's hometown tomorrow. So we recommended a steakhouse that David's family has always loved and we love. and hope that they get to visit a winery or two in the area where David was born and raised. So I hope this finds you doing well tonight, and if not, that there are people to support you and love you. And again, if you need prayers, Paula, I'm lifting up prayers for you, and I just ask God to be with you in this time. So tomorrow night will be Wednesday night worship at 6:30, and then Thursday night we'll be back with devotions at 7 p.m. Friday night fun, we're going to have to figure it out because we forgot. Yes, we are going to the Hamilton on Friday night, so we'll either record it early or we'll put a note up if we're going to postpone it. Depends on how our Friday goes. If we can get it recorded early, we will post it and I'll put a note up. Otherwise, I'll put a note up that we won't be doing it on Friday because we forgot when we were thinking about it, and I forgot when I posted that the devotions for tonight. So, all right, everybody. Hey, have a great evening. Those of you who watch it tomorrow, I pray everybody has a great day tomorrow. And we're praying for the rain to get out of here. And those of you in the Midwest that need rain, we're praying the rain comes your way and goes out to the West Coast and to the places where they need it most. Because, God, we're telling you, we don't need it all right now. So, and as Laura says, go in peace and serve the Lord. Thanks be to God. Thank you, Laura, again, for going to serve. We look forward to hearing from you soon. And now may the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine on you and be gracious to you. May the Lord look upon you with favor and give you peace. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. Have a great night, everybody. Take care. See you soon. Good night.